Blackpool at home. Russ, obviously, you've played them before in the Checkatrade Trophy. How different will Saturday be?
Yeah, well, the personnel was slightly different last time, like us. There's probably 5 or 6 changes from both teams. I think we took it to the max that you could do to give other players a game at the time. So, but we, they gave us a good test last time, and it'll be a good test on Saturday. So, we'll be preparing for it and having a look at them and seeing what they do and don't do. So, I'm sure it'll be a good game. It's just above us in the league, so it's a bit of incentive for us there to try and go above them, and sure it'll be a good game.
And what's the mood like in the camp after back-to-back league wins, which you haven't done before so far this season?
Yeah, very good. In league terms, it's probably a little while. James will probably tell me when it is, and it must be a fair while back-to-back wins in the league. So yeah, everything's good, but you have to sort of throw a bit of caution to that as well and say, it's only as good as your last game. Prepare for the next one. But spirits are really high, and it always has been. The spirit for me, I mentioned to the manager just before the Crawley game that you never thought we were where we were in the league, because spirit's been really good. Everything's carried on, and you just wait for people to come back and things to click, and that's what's happened. And hopefully we can keep progressing.
So, from your perspective, what's actually made the difference?
Well, it's a number of things. We talked about the DNA of the players, and knowing what we do and what we expect, and from us, and what we expect from them. It's getting some senior players back at times. You can never be underestimated. You need a mixture of everything in your team, in your squad. I think we've probably got it right, barring 1 or 2, and it's just a case of ticking things over, keeping spirits up, and people demanding more off each other on the pitch, and knowing what they should be doing. And I think we've done that in the last couple of games, and obviously you want the momentum to carry on.
And people stepping up to the mark who were here last season, very significant that I think all 10 outfield players on Saturday last week were here last season. So they know that Cheltenham sort of ethos as well, and sort of they've also proved that they can make the step up.
Yeah, it does make it easier when people know what you want, and it does make last year seem even more remarkable that 18, 20 players came in the door, and literally from I think we drew the first few, and for the first 6 or 8 games we were a bit up and down, but I think after that everyone clicked, and it just shows how remarkable that was really, because we brought 5 or 6 in this year, we've done all right, but we haven't clicked as well as we thought we would do. But it's nice to have them players back, and like I said, the spirit's great, lads are great, and we've just got to keep it going.
And Danny Wright back into the mix this week. I mean, there's a decision there to be made, isn't there? Because it's hard to change a winning team.
Yeah, no, we have had this on Tuesday already, so we've already who would you pick? And it's one of those. We've got another 48 hours to decide and see how training goes. And but Wright has done well. Pelly did well when he came in, and it's just trying to mix and match and see what we think's best and will work best on the day.
Injuries, everyone who been fit okay recently still okay, and anyone coming back this week?
Injury wise, there's nothing that I can think of. I haven't seen Gav yet, but injury wise I think everyone's okay. Everyone came through the reserve game Tuesday as well, so everyone seems fine, and they've had their 45 minutes, an hour, stroke 90 minutes, those lads, so that's good for them. But coming back wise, no one is coming back in. I think there's a couple that will be very close. I think James Rowe will be close probably next week. Gavin went with Dan Holman to the specialist again on Tuesday, and it was quite positive. So it's just it's just a swelling that needs to come down in the toe. Obviously, not so much blood gets to the end of your foot, so that's going to take a little bit longer than we first thought, but it was quite encouraging.
So is there a time frame on Dan Holman?
No, I wouldn't like to put a time on it. We'll see. Everyone hopes that he walks in the next day and says, "Yeah, I'm fine," but that hasn't happened so far. So I think it's going to be a gradual one with that. And like I said, where it is, there's location on the body is what the difficulty is of that one healing.
How close is Amari to be able to be pushing for a start? Because obviously Harry Powell was the choice last week.
Yeah, Amari's in and around it. He played 80 minutes the other day. So we're just waiting for him to find his game a bit more than he had before his injury. You know, his injury last year. But still a great weapon to have coming off the bench at the minute. And but he is close. He's getting close all the time. And he's had a few setbacks. So when you get those, you've got to probably bide your time sometimes, and you're not quite where you should be or where you want to be. But he's not far away at all.
Cheers, Ross. Thank you.
Just on Tuesday during the reserve game, Alex Cooper was doing quite a lot of physical running, so he can't be that far away from being back in and around it.
Yeah, Alex is not far. Gav's working him quite hard, so I think every day he's improving and progressing, and Kobe's not far as well. I think both of those two, certainly Kobe should be imminently back training with us. Alex is not too far behind him, and like I said, James Rowe and John Smith as well. So we should be. Yeah, Ace is going to be probably a touch longer, I think. I think Gav's got to go back to specialists with him, so he may be. We don't know. We've got to see whether it's rest or some sort of other option for him.
To answer your question, it was Northampton and Cambridge in November 2014.
Great,
October
2014.
Yeah, so that's before your spell as manager, actually under Mark Yates as manager.
Yeah, so that was what, 6 months before the end of that season.
So
okay, that was sort of 8-9 months.
Yeah. During the wobbly, sticky spell at the start of the season, how much was there a need for sort of a good cop, bad cop? Because Gary was very much the bad cop in terms of laying down quite sort of forceful challenges to the players. Were you sort of the other way, the arm around the shoulder?
We have our times. there were times in certain games in the dressing room where I took over, and Gaff won't mind me saying it, but then he stood back. So, generally, it's it is that way round. But we've had our moments where we flipped it a couple of times, and I've flipped it, and it's all done for a reason. It's all meant and said with the best intentions, and I think hopefully it's bearing fruit now.
Yeah, go back to that sort of Monday after the Oval game, because I spoke to Gary about it last week. It seems quite sort of seismic in the season almost, those one-on-one chats and that almost back to basics approach. How much did he speak to you before that?
Well, I was in on them. I was in on all the meetings with the lads.
So there were 2-on-1s, not 1-on-1s.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was in there with all of them as well. So we had a Group 1 unit meeting as well, different units of the team, and then individuals. So, the Oval game was one where it's one of those where you think, right, maybe he could do a certain job, and it didn't quite go on the day for us. If we'd have played the team now, it'd have been that we've got. I think it'd have been a lot different result. But on the day, you try these things now and then, and sometimes you're classed as a genius, and other times you think, people go, what the hell are you doing? That's just the chance you take. That's the decision you do, and hopefully more come off than don't.
Yeah, but since sort of going back to basics, it has been a lot more solid and almost reliable, and getting back to last year's squad as well.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to get patterns on the pitch. And people that are comfortable playing with each other, know each other's games, and the side that's been out in the last few weeks, they all know each other's games. They all bring different things. So for the lads that are not in, it's up to them to get in and stake their claim when they get a chance.
Are you expecting a very different Blackpool to the Checker Trade game?
Yeah, obviously players that were not playing and playing will tell you that would be the case. Yeah, in terms of players, yeah. In terms of how they play, probably not so much. No, I don't think so. It was a decent game that night, and we went ahead and scored a great goal, and then they got 2 very quickly, which sort of knocked us back a bit. But we've looked at a few of their games, and they'll be a good test for us. It's obviously a massive club, and from where they were 4 or 5 years ago, they'll want to have aspirations of getting back up. Finally,
Gary said to us about he spoke to you throughout last week about playing Pelly up front. Was that something that you first of all thought, and then sort of gradually came more around to?
It did come from left field a bit, yeah. We put him up there against Hartlepool. I know it's on the when you're needing something at the end of a game, it's always tempting. That one didn't quite come off, although we had a lot of chances. But as the week went on, I think he said it last week. As the week went on, we thought, yeah, he probably could do a job up there, because he's got a good all-round game. Nicknamed him Peter Quinn. Worked that one out.
Still trying.
But no, he's we said to him it could be another string to the bow, another option for you. You don't know. He could add a bit more onto the old price tag. You don't know, but it was a way of getting him in the team because he'd done really well. And I felt by and large he did well for us till the crowd started baying for him.
Yeah. Finally, I just saw him on the way in. Actually, he was bringing the cakes in. It's been a pretty cake-filled week, isn't it? There's been birthdays, all the. If you had to seriously, have you had to run him a bit more in training?
Disguised running, like sometimes we don't disguise it very well. But there is quite a lot. There's 4 or 5. There's a couple of staff members' birthdays as well, so you've got to chuck them into it. Happy birthday to Antoine Thompson, by the way. He's 30 today. There's I think there's 4 or 5, isn't there, coming up? So I think we go to sort of next Tuesday, Wednesday, before we clear this backlog that we've got. So there's going to be some extra movement on the green stuff.
It's like test match special.
Yeah.
Cheers.